Welcome to TechSign TV. We're live at HPE Discover, and we're talking to Sean Kenny from Carnival Cruise Line. Sorry. And we're going to talk about his implementation on his cruise ship because it's a pretty substantial amount of technology.
Yeah, because a cruise ship obviously is a huge, it's a small city, right? So, welcome to the show, Sean.
Thank you.
And as we're here at HPE, we're going to obviously talk about the implementation of what you're using from HPE on the ship. But first of all, just a little bit of background from you, who you are, how did you end up in this business, and what makes this business so interesting for you?
Well, the most interesting of those questions is the last one. Why is this business so interesting? Cruise ships are mini cities with as many as 10,000 people living on them for a week or more at a time. We have hospitals, we have jails, we have casinos, we have restaurants, we have entertainers, we have hotel accommodations, we have shore excursions. We are the number one employer in the world of magicians.
Oh, really?
When you come on a Carnival ship, very common that when you're having dinner, a magician will come around and do a trick to entertain people.
Oh, yeah.
If you have little kids at the table, they'll do a simple trick and they'll give the kid the trick so the kid can do it. But they still do tricks for adults that are amazing. We're the number one employer in the world of musicians. We are the number one employer in the world of comedians. So there's all of these elements to a city or to all consumer industries that are manifest on the ship. We have stores, we have restaurants, we sell ice cream, we make our own beer, we have curated wine experiences and everything.
Make your own beer
absolutely
on the ship or off
on the ship.
On the ship.
We're not going to talk about beer.
Oh,
we're talking about
very interesting in this.
One of the great things on a sea day is we have Guy's Pig and Anchor, and Guy Fieri is a well-known American celebrity chef, and he put a barbecue restaurant on board our ships, and we serve that with our homemade beer. We have a Weizen, we have a Pilsner, we have an Indian Pale Ale. And you haven't lived until you've had a rack of ribs and a nice cold beer.
I have to step in here because we're at HPE Discover. I may have to talk about infrastructure here. You have basically a floating city, right?
We are. But the only reason that we're able to make that beer and make the amount of beer make sense is that we use the existing network to understand who is going to consume it. As there are many strict rules on board a ship. For example, once you make beer, when people leave the ship, you have to get rid of the beer. You have to remake it.
Oh, really?
So we need to take an early inventory of who's going to drink. How do we do that? Well, we look at the first groups of people who come in to the pubs and who orders beer, and we start to make some calculations based on what we've learned about our guests. And the only way we're able to do that is with the infrastructure, the network infrastructure, and the use of data that is enabled by Aruba.
Because then you need to have real time, no, near real time.
It has to be near real time. Yeah. Otherwise, your food waste is terrible. And it's not an unacceptable business model.
And how accurate is it? Because, like you said, food waste is terrible. So how accurate is that calculation based on the first people coming into a pub?
We would say that our food waste is de minimis now, so it's not even really reportable. We're initially more concerned that we would not have enough beer, for example.
Run out, right?
You don't want to run out because our number one mantra is guest satisfaction and happiness. No one has to come on a cruise. Yeah. It's a completely discretionary expenditure.
Sure.
You or I have to go on an airplane for business. It's just a fact of life.
Unfortunately.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
But you don't ever have to come on a cruise ship. So I have to make it exciting and wonderful. I have to make it a seamless, frictionless experience. And the only way I do that is to leverage all of the network capabilities that we are putting on board and the real-time data management so that I can
So that also means you have substantial data centers on your...
we do.
And two, I think, right?
We have two on every ship.
On every ship. Is that because of redundancy? Or
yes, it's marine requirement.
Okay.
Hopefully, and HPE is actively involved with this, we're starting to think through the ability to use hyperconverged infrastructure as well as cloud-based solutions to reduce the size of the second data center. So that's a very big deal to us. Every square inch that we give up on a ship goes to make another revenue cabin or goes to providing a restaurant, rather than a data center, which, although exciting to me, is not exciting to the guests.
But is the data center only for entertainment purposes or also to control the ship?
It is for all of the above.
Okay.
The data center helps run the ship. The data center is the access point for all of the back of house and front of house activities, all of the crew management, all of the personnel issues, HR issues for crew. It's where we collect all of the medical records for both our guests and our crew, and so on and so on.
And how big is the average data center on a ship nowadays? Is that like 10 racks or like
No, it's closer to 30 racks.
30 racks?
So you have
pretty
2
large.
times 30 racks
Correct.
on each ship.
They're identical at this point.
Yeah, but you wanna diminish the size.
We're asking HPE to help us with a design that will reduce significantly the size of the DR.
Yeah.
Right now, we go back and forth between the two data centers in terms of what's in production. We'd like to have one in production all the time and a backup, a DR, that with a much smaller footprint.
So is it active or is it?
Yes.
Yeah, you have to be, right?
Have to be.
Otherwise.
You can't
Most
use
of our
cloud,
solutions
right?
most of the solutions are still on-prem.
Yeah.
We're moving. We hope we can see that within 36 months or so, we could have close to ubiquitous connectivity to the web. And then that changes the equation.
Because how is the connectivity situation for cruise ships? Because I've been on cruise ships before, sort of for work when they were at a port.
Oh,
And that was always one of the biggest issues, was to get good connectivity when you're not at a port, right? And but also compare different countries have different accessibility to networks, right?
So two things have helped immensely. Our team on Carnival has developed an agnostic approach to how we consume signal. So it doesn't matter whether that is Starlink or the newly emerging Kuiper or Speedcast or SES, who are all major satellite signal providers. We can consume signal from any of them, and we pay and consume based on the highest fidelity signal we can get. We now are in a position in most of the world, not all of the world, where we have signal. Both poles are very difficult, South Pole, North Pole.
Yeah.
Certain regions of the world, Australia is very difficult because you don't have the satellite coverage. But we can see a time coming where true ubiquitous connectivity is available, and then real cloud solutions, both for operations and for guests.
Because you would need that, right? But
Correct.
because you cannot have cloud solutions without good connectivity.
We cannot.
And then maybe the development around low Earth orbit kind of stuff, and maybe photonics even. I mean, moving towards the future.
The low Earth orbit has been the game changer. So Starlink and Starlink's competitor now, Kuiper, which is another low Earth orbit satellite provider, they have changed the game because of the amount of coverage that they have around the world. They have their own challenges, though, which is another thing we can go into. But the orbital plane starts to diminish very quickly and degrade. They fall into the ocean, and you have to get another one up. We've done some other things. We've experimented with Loon, which Google was doing, where they're putting up essentially weather balloons with the equipment to provide a signal. And they're great because they stay more or less over one geographic spot.
They killed it, right?
Pardon me?
They killed the Loon
They did.
project, right?
Yeah, they did. Because it was, it's a good proof of concept. We know that they're going somewhere else with the concept, but I don't think it'll be weather balloons.
No.
Let's go back to the actual network on the ships, because I understand. I mean, the connectivity outward is very important, but also the connectivity on the ships is very important as well, right? Because for customer engagement, you have traffic flows, like you already mentioned. What are some more applications of the network that you use it actively for?
So the simplest and easiest one to understand is that if you want anybody under 25 years old to go on board a ship, they better be able to connect to their friends and family using whether it is Facebook Live or whatever social media they want. And just a very few years ago, that was a near impossibility. Now on our ships, leveraging the network tools that we have, It is not only possible, but every day they're doing Facebook Live with their friends. Parenthetic,
Does every cabin have its own access point, for
they do.
example?
That was part of the recipe that we put in place. So much bigger bandwidth coming down, so a gig coming down, much better distribution of signal through the modems, the satellite modem, and then an AP, an access point in every cabin, both guest and crew. And the public areas are literally flooded with signal.
And did you already make a decision about whether or not to kill 2.4 in those instances? Because ideally, if you do one in every cabin, you could do 5 or 6 gig, obviously. But not everybody has.
Again, redundancy.
Yeah.
So we're keeping both 2.4 and 5 going.
Yeah.
We can certainly see a time when it's 5, but virtually everything on a ship is redundant.
Yeah.
So we're maintaining that redundancy.
I understand on a hotel that every room has its own access point, and that's easy because you can drill holes in walls. I don't know on a cruise ship. I don't.
Drill holes through steel.
Is that harder?
Yes.
Or are there cable?
So on a ship, how you do it is you lift the ceiling tiles and you run the cabling, which is all fiber optic, through the ceiling tiles and through the roofs. In approximately every group of cabins, call it about 8 or 10, there's a data closet that provides the needs for that group of cabins and just the basic connectivity, including things like internet TV and other kind of basic telephone and so on.
Do you also offer your own, like on the plane, your own entertainment selection to all the people that they can stream some from the data center? Probably also to offload some of the stress on the connection.
Oh, we're actually migrating from the video jukebox where you literally, ship around so it looks like it's streaming. It really isn't. To a full streaming solution. And again, HPE has been very vitally involved. HPE has been very actively involved in helping us formulate that solution so that we can have full interactive TV. And the big streaming providers, Netflix, Cinemax, HBO, et cetera, are all involved with us because they love the idea that you would get on board a ship and possibly for the first time been exposed to Netflix choices. And then it's up to Netflix if they can convert you into a long-term customer, but at least while you're on board the ship, it's going to be free to you to use.
Yeah. Okay. What is the biggest challenge on the ship if you look at IT infrastructure?
The biggest single challenge is the fact that we earn our living on salt water, and everything on salt water rots.
Yeah.
Everything. So we built these ships, and when we start, the hull, steel in the hull is about 3.5 inches wide. After about 25 years, when we sell the ship, the steel is about 1 inch wide.
Really? It's so corrosive.
Salt water.
And what does it do for the infrastructure itself, for the IT infrastructure itself?
So what we have to do is every 3 to 5 years, depending on the ship platform, we take the ship into dry dock. Everything that is wired, everything electronic, everything in the rack is pulled off and new ones put in. All the soft goods, material of any kind, mattresses, etc., all pulled off, new ones.
And how many times do you do that?
Every 3 to 5 years. So for the life of a ship, between 5 and 7 times. So the ship goes into dry dock and it'll be stripped down to the steel and literally rebuilt.
That also means that you need to make it extremely upgradable in the sense that if you want new IT infrastructure, it should be very easy to actually deploy that.
So as you upgrade access points, for example, correct, as you go from having Cat 5 or Cat 6 cable to fiber optics, those are all changes that we can make in progress and increase the fidelity of this.
Because in that sense, it's different from hotels where it's much more fixed. Once you've built a hotel and you've said, look, this is the infrastructure, those are the cables, and it's Cat 6 and Cat 7. Well, we don't know because
we don't know. Right.
That's a hell of a job. But I mean, on a cruise ship, that's easier to do.
Because we have this legislated, mandated period where the ship has to come out of the water, it has to be repainted, everything has to be redone. So it's our opportunity. Sometimes, especially
around... You replace all the cables as well?
Yeah.
So even if there's fiber optics in there, they will be replaced?
everything.
Okay.
Everything on saltwater rots. And as you I wasn't born a saltwater sailor, but I've become one. And you learn some lessons about what it's like to be on the seas.
Yeah.
And so, the ocean is a wonderful place, and it's a wonderful place to earn your living, but you have to respect her. And
Okay.
everything material, she rots.
And this sort of a final topic and maybe question. On the one hand, what's been the best thing that you've done together with HPE over the course of whatever you've
Easy. It's been
And-
the enablement of the network on board the ship
Okay.
that has given us that opportunity now where somebody can do Facebook Live, or somebody can get on social media live, where you can do a Teams call, where, at one time I was telling our colleagues that when I first started in the industry, it was common for people to say, I'm not going to do email. I'm not going to work.
No,
That doesn't work.
that's what annoys me nowadays on planes as well. The connectivity is getting better and better, so people expect you to reply.
I'm afraid so.
The
But
effort
that has been a game changer for us. As we try to convert the new group of sailors and cruisers, those are people who have grown up being connected their entire lives. And being unconnected is not an acceptable opportunity. So that's the single biggest thing we've done.
And then finally, what would you like for the next step to be from HPE that would make your life even better?
We're working closely now with HPE to start to integrate in the AI tool set to help us make better real-time decisions on board the ship, whether it's serving guests or it's dealing with security threats from an OT perspective. And I think that's the next big threshold.
And those guests are obviously the main topic of
That's where we make our money.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Sean, for your insights in the Carnival Cruise Line and their IT infrastructure. Thank you for watching TechSign TV. We'll be back with more from HPE Discover.